here in the north of Europe. And I'm not talking about cold. This picture that you're seeing here is from the last parade of Montevideo, which is the capital city of my country. In 2013 we approved a law, so we regulate the whole market of cannabis. You can have up to 6 female plants in your home, you can buy weed at drugstores, and you can associate with friends or with gardeners and have your own cannabis club. I think we are the only country at a federal level, somebody could say in the US, that we made this. And we are proud about it. But there is no law in the world that is perfect, and we still have to work on it. And this parade was for asking to the government to fulfill all the objectives that are written in our law. But I supposed, when I start thinking in this conversation, that you knew practically nothing about my country. So I try to explain some things. And please ask me everything you want to ask, because it's okay, I have to tell you something new, but I would appreciate your questions, your thoughts also. I live in Latin America. Latin America is a continent which is really US dependent in a political way, in an economical way. And in the last 20 years, 15 years, my continent made a political process where we, in a way, start to be dependent from other places, from other markets, and not to the US market. And that gives us a lot of freedom. And I would like to share with you a quotation of an important guy for the US policy, for the US internal policy, which was Sean Ehrlichman. He was an advisor of Nixon, the president of the US, and as you know, Nixon was the president of the US that started with this kind of interplanetary war against drugs, or something like drugs. I don't know, then we are going to problematize the word drugs. What is a drug? I think it's nothing. You can read it. What they said was that they could not make black people illegal or the hippie movement illegal. So they put drugs on the movement just to make them kind of scary for society, and also to go with the police to their homes and put them in the TV news and try to say that they are the evil. And that thing also happened in all the Latin American countries from that time until now. And it's not only a problem about the US that colonized us, no, it's not. It's also a problem about us and how we defend democracy and how we defend our word and our principles. In 1972, all Latin American countries signed an agreement which was called something like the Agreement of Psychotropic Substances. So all the countries in my continent signed exactly the same law and applied the law, where there was not really a problem of demand of drugs, because drugs were used by really few population in the Latin American countries. But they create a problem. They create a problem, and they thought they create also the solution, which was the militarization, the politicization, let's say, of population. So we are still suffering from repression, from a stupid repression, that for many politicians is the only way to fight against something that they don't understand. This map is a map of the route of cocaine in Latin America. You can see there that in Bolivia, in Peru, and in Colombia, which are the three suppliers, the global suppliers of cocaine, you can see some routes. There are some others. It's full of routes. If you have a harbor, not only in Latin America, if you have a harbor here in Europe or in the US, it's for sure that you will have illicit drugs in this harbor, by planes, with people. I'm not going to tell these numbers to you because you have it there, and they are quite clear. It's a lot of money. And that money generates, for Latin American countries, problems in the development of democracy, problems at the governmental level, and also problems at the level of the floor, with the people, with peasants, with farmers that have to crop these illegal crops because they don't have other way of living, because they can't sell tomatoes, because nobody will buy those tomatoes or bananas or whatever to them. The only thing that is profitable for them is harvesting the coca or cannabis or poppy flower. There you have the figure of the percentage that the Indian farmers receive for $35.5 billion, just 0.5 for the farmers, and all the rest for corruption. This is a figure of the Organization of American States. They were studying this phenomenon for years, and they made a report 2014, which I recommend you if you like to see what is happening in Latin America. Really, what is happening in Latin America has to do with the things that happen in Europe and the things that happen in the US. Try to think about it. We can talk there about that. Roughly, briefly, in 2006, the president of Mexico, Calderón, started once again with the war on drugs. 6 years later, 121,000 people were dead. 15,000 people are still disappeared. We have this tragic figure in Latin America, disappeared people. People that disappear from the dictatorships. But now, the dictatorships end, more or less. And we have missing people because of the police action and because of the narco gangs, the narco mafia action. This thing with Mexico is important because, why Mexico? Because from Colombia to the US, where the cocaine is demanded, the cocaine has to go somewhere, have to travel to the US. And in the past, the cocaine traveled by air to the US, and then Mexico cut that line. And so the cocaine started passing through the soil, through the people, through the earth, through the cities. And as the cocaine went to the US, a lot of people died in Central America, in Guatemala, Nicaragua, in Mexico, in Panama. A lot of countries have are really a bloodbath just to the US take cocaine, only because of that. And because it profits a lot, of course. Just some numbers, you can see there are half a million people working in this industry only in Mexico. You can see the average salary, which maybe is not important here, but in Latin America, believe me, that is a lot of money. You can see the murderers rate there. It's really, it's a lot of people. It's a lot of life, a lot of families. And then I put just one figure about Paraguay, which is not my country. We sound similar, but we're not the same. Paraguay is the supplier of cannabis to Brazil, Argentina, Chile, Uruguay, and Bolivia. And you can see there the markers, which are increasingly high. Paraguay, it's a country in the core of South America. And you can see there are some of the roots. The white roots are the cocaine roots. The cocaine came from Bolivia, and then it's exported to other countries to reach Europe and to reach the USA. And in green you can see some roots for cannabis, which is a regional production. And you can see there this red spot. Those are where you have like the bigger homicide rates because of this narco stuff fighting between them and with the police and killing peasants and farmers. I am working actually in Paraguay. I went there. I know some growers there, which are really poor people trying to do their best to feed their families. They are not criminals. They are just people trying to work, and it's people that cannot work. They only can work doing this harvesting and seeding and growing of cannabis. This is the final product. It's really a bad drug. It's adulterated. I haven't smoked this since I was a child almost. I am happy with the regulation in my country. Well, you can see there are some figures about Latin America. Where it's legal, where it's illegal, but with a small amount, where is it criminalized, where you can find medical marijuana. This is like the big picture. Then in every country you have different problems, different political trends. And then you can see which is who is in favor of legalizing, and which is like the amount of population that have tried cannabis. I start talking about the war on drugs. The war on drugs that was in a way really at every level was sponsored by the U.S. government, by different U.S. governments. And one of the things that it's important for Latin America is that this U.S. perspective about drugs came to our countries without debate, without a discussion. We just buy these concepts and spread these concepts in our countries. It's something similar to what's happening here. So the authorities says that drugs lead to crime, to violence, that drugs disintegrate family, social values, and the prevention for that was shame or really aggressive medical treatments. This figure is it's a picture of a magazine of the police in my country, and it says a lot of stupid things like how to detect a drug addict. The fear is part of this policy, and it is still we are fighting against fear, also in my country. Uruguay is a really little country, but anyway, we have important harbors, and we have a lot of cocaine going out to Europe. The traffickers in Uruguay acquire this spread. They don't want to make noise. They don't want the population to know who they are. They are 2 or 3 or 4 families that were sending cocaine to Europe. But we have a problem in some neighborhoods, which are poor neighborhoods, and the police says that there are gangs fighting each other just to have the control of the market, of the internal market. But I will stop for a little bit talking about the bad things about drugs and we talk a little bit about pleasure, which is, I think, important for drugs, because we do drugs because we take pleasure. In 2007, in my country, 4 out of 10 students of the secondary level used cannabis, at least once in their lifetime. Only 1 out of 10 Uruguayans find difficult to buy weed. And in 2011, 2 out of 10 Uruguayan people tried cannabis in their life. And this is important because cannabis entered into the society, to the young society at that time, my generation, and we put it in different public places, like in the football stadium, like in the rock concert, like in the university, the high school. You could smell cannabis 15 years ago in the streets of my country. You can smoke weed in the streets of my country without problems. And that was a cultural change we made some years ago. We have a political change in 2005, and in 2012 maybe you heard about José Mujica. It's our former president. And he observing all this situation growing in Latin America with the mafia gangs, the problems at the internal level with these gangs fighting for the internal market, and some other reasons. He said we should do something, because these groups are jeopardizing our society. They fight against the police. There are some neighborhoods where police do not enter, which is really not true, that's what it says. So the government said we have a new scenario here for violence, and we are not going to fight with weapons. I made an interview with the Ministry of Defense, and he told me, we have 3 ships in the harbor, 3 warships in the harbor, and the narco mafia in Latin America have submarines, have planes, have companies. How are we going to fight with these guys? We are going to fight with these guys economically, not with weapons. There were some, at that time there were some, I would say, debates at the level of the Congress. Some politicians were trying to develop a new line, a new approach to this issue about drugs. And they made some kind of progressive statement. Well, we should have a law that seeks a comprehensive public policy. We should include users in the health system and not in prison. We should control consumption, give it a proper answer about how, when, where, with whom, and for what use drugs. We should give information to the people and not fear to the people. There was also a very interesting social movement. The social movement have in a hand this kind of cannabis movement which try to sell the properties of the cannabis plant as a healer, as a way of a spiritual way for living. And you have the other movement which have to do with human rights, with youth, with not stigmatized young people, and that they were also part of the movement that made possible abortion in my country at the same time, gay marriage, and some other fights that the social movement, the young social movement, give in my country. But the key factor was this guy, José Mujica. Because he was not fond of gay marriage, or he was not fond of drugs, he was not fond of abortion, but he has something good, which is, maybe I don't like it, but if you feel we have to do it, we are going to do it. And if you have arguments, and you convince me, and some people convince him, we are going to do it. So in June 2012, this guy sent a kind of bill to the Congress for start a debate, a national debate. We were in this debate for a year, something like this. But he was a key factor because in Uruguay, if the president don't like something, something won't happen. And we finally approved this bill in December 2013 with this objective: reduce the risks to which marijuana users are exposed. Half of the cannabis users say that they feel violated when they went to a place for buying weed. They feel the violence, and they were offered. In these places, they also offer to them cocaine, adulterated cocaine, of course, and some other risky drugs. One of the main objectives of the government at that time was to remove the economic resources from the organized crime groups to the government, to the state, to diversify the healthcare response for problematic drug use and some other things. Those were like the main objectives. So the time passed, the bill was voted, and some of the things that this law says is that advertisement is banned. It's like different from the US, where practically everything can happen in some states, like Colorado. If you are under 18 years, you can't access to the legal system. The law also said that educational programs should be created, as well as health programs. And if you are not Uruguayan and you want to go to Uruguay to smoke weed, well, you need a friend in Uruguay. But it's not that difficult. You have one here. This packaging, I am really proud about it. This packaging is the packaging that you can buy in the drugstores. It's the weed of the government, we say. It's quite good. Really, it has this one has 2% of THC and 6 of CBD. It's a placebo really, but it works. It's good for work. And then now in these days we are going to have another one which have like 6% of THC and 2 of CBD. And then we are going to have 4 more varieties in the next 2 years. If everything works, it's not a legalization like, wow, we need a registration. And in this institute, it works with the Health Ministry, the Internal Affairs Ministry, Agriculture Ministry, and some other offices that they have to coordinate. And they are coordinated by the National Board of Drugs, which depends on the President of the Republic. And it's really a problem we have in all the countries in Latin America, because we have these institutes for drug policies, but they depend on the President, and the President changes in 4 or 5 years. And so drug policies change all the time. So I think we need an independent board on drugs, not presidential dependent, just drug dependent. This picture that you see there, it's one of the greenhouses that 2 companies built for us to smoke weed in my country. The government made a kind of contest to see who was the best company for harvesting 4 tons of weed a year. By the way, we have 2 licenses for medical cannabis that are starting right now, 8 licenses for industrial cannabis right now, some scientific research that have started 2 years ago, and 2 companies growing, harvesting, stocking, and distributing for 12 drugstores, which are really few. But we are starting, and we are slow. We are an American guy. We take our time. We sleep nap. We like dancing, and then the other day, it's not so easy to work. two main objectives of the law is that this law about cannabis regulation, it's a harm reduction law. And it's not working, that part. The other day I have been asking for an interview with the people of the health ministry for 2 years. And they don't talk with me. They don't talk with anybody, really. And so my first question was, what are you doing about harm reduction? Nothing. Then the other great goal was to improve security. Nobody's really studying the thing as it, with the seriousness that this issue deserves. But we have some figures that are talking about that maybe things are better. Our cannabis do not have taxes. Why? Because the government wants to have a competition, let's say, a price competition with the cannabis that came from Paraguay, the other country. Remember, we are the same. So, what we can have, well, you can see here like the recommendations of the government for the people that buy with, like the consumption of psychoactive cannabis have risks. It also have effects over the brain. Don't use cannabis during pregnancy or lactancy. Do not use cannabis if there are under 18 years old people in the house. If you have any kind of question about an adverse effect or whatever, call your doctor. This product is for personal use only in the Uruguayan country. The sale is prohibited for minors under 18 years old. It's prohibited also to use the product in your work, in your workplace, which is really funny because how can they can control that? You can't drive vehicles, and its use is prohibited in public spaces, like here or, you know. Then the government says that we should use it as with our riser, which is like the safest way of smoking weed. If you are going to smoke cannabis, don't mix alcohol and cannabis. And if it's your first time with cannabis, try to be with somebody that knows the drug. Those are some of the recommendations. Well, what can we do? In Uruguay, we can have 6 female plants in our home. We can have 100 if they are male or if they have not flowered yet. I don't know if you know the process of cannabis growing. Okay? Should I explain? No? Yeah? Okay. The plants of the cannabis have 2 sexes, like people. Male, like people, and female, like people. And so when the best one is the women. Why? Because it has the active principles of that we are looking for the height or for medical purposes or whatever you want to try. And so the plants that have this psychoactive effect is the female plant. So we can have only it's okay, 6 plants a year. It's quite okay, quite good. And then you can have, I don't know, 100 males, and also the plant, it takes at least 3 months to know the sex of the plant. So you can have little plants and then cut them off and just stay with 6 plants. That's the thing. You have to be strict with this. Anyway, we don't have people controlling this. maybe in the future, but nobody is like, oh, how many plants you have there? Yeah, then you can buy up to 10 grams a week in pharmacies. But we are having a problem in the pharmacies right now, or several problems. Have you heard something about the problems we are having with the pharmacies? No? Okay. Okay. Problem number one. Imagine a state, a Latin American state, trying to grow weed. Have you seen Cheech and Chong? Imagine them trying to harvest 2 tons of cannabis. It would be a mess. So, not really. They select 2 companies that they are doing their best job, but they have a lot of problems. At an agronomical level, but also with the model for business. It's not that easy. And just one of the companies is selling the weed into the drugstores. The other company had a lot of problems. We actually do not know which type of problems. I just know, because of hearings, some of them, but they do not communicate. Government is, they have a problem with communication. They think that silence is the best communicated policy, and I think they are really wrong. But the other problem that we are all having in Uruguay is that 1 month after that the pharmacies start selling weed, the Bank of America from the US, Citibank from the US, and Banco Santander from the US said to the Uruguayan banks, if you like to do business with us, you can't receive the money from the cannabis industry. Why? Because the cannabis is still classified in this list of the United Nations Convention that I hope we can all change quickly, rapidly. We have to be together, Europe, Latin America, Africa, Asia, everybody. And so the pharmacies can't put their money in the bank. They have to put the money in their pocket and then in the market.
Same in America.
The same in America, but in America, correct me please, 30% of the companies can put the money in regional banks, at least, isn't it?
I was just going to say it's the same in Sweden. They have lots of problems with it. It's the same selling hemp in Sweden. They're not allowed to use a visa or any bank or anything. So they have
or in the Netherlands also. Isn't it coffee shops? Another companies, and the seed companies in the Netherlands which are in empire. I don't know what they do with the money. I know what they do with the money. Well, and so we have this problem, the problem with the banks, which is not solved really at this moment. The pharmacies that are working because they put the money in the pocket. And now I wanna believe that after the year ends, the government is going to approve a decree. So we are going to have a kind of herbal pharmacies just for selling cannabis. So we are going to buy the weed in places which are specifically made for buying weed. But we are going to have this problem that those new stores, they won't be able to put that money in a bank. So we have a law which is a good law, but we have international problems. Among the problems we have as a country. Well, 60 main plants in your home. You have to choose. You can't do everything because you will be a drug addict, and we don't want that. So you can have only 6 female plants, or choose to buy up to 10 grams a week in the pharmacies, or make a cannabis social club, which is really a great experience that we copied from Catalonia and the Basque country. And it works. The things that, for example, the home growing and the cannabis clubs depends only in people. Only people. And they work. what depends on the political structures is not working as it could. And it's an important thing for highlighting. I think I talked about it. We can do marketing or advertisement. There is a police procedure brochure which is interesting because if I'm the police and you have 8 plants, I have to go and do a really the police have to respect a lot of principles of the law, every principle. So if the police is going to take your plants to the police station, they have to take care of the plant. If they take your seeds, they have to take care of the seed. Otherwise, I can demand police. And it's really interesting and it's working. We have some problems. Well, at this moment we have 8,000 people registered for home growing, only for home growing. And we have 3 or 4 cases of police getting into the houses of people, of registered people. And it's really a mess for them, because then I'm a journalist, and when some policemen do bad things with this, we just, or a judge, because they have a perspective, an old-fashioned perspective, we just put them in the newspaper like, you men from the ancient time, you are doing things. This is the law, we have to respect the law. Well, in my country, the users of cannabis, and it's an estimation, but it's about 160,000 people. Now we have 18,000 people registered for buying cannabis in drugstores. There you have a picture of the interface of the system. When I go for the registration, I just have to. I only need a receipt of, for example, the lighting, telephone bill, whatever, and my ID. That's it. And then I have to put my fingers. So when I go to the pharmacy, I don't have to show any kind of card. I only put my finger, and the system says to the pharmacist, he can buy 10 grams. He cannot because he just buy everything, and it's working. The cannabis is really cheap. I don't know how much that cannabis costs here a gram, but you can have it in Uruguay for $1 American. It's really cheap, isn't it?
Yeah. 20 times more expensive.
20? How we can do business? Because we have a lot of weed and we are not selling it in the pharmacy, so maybe the government can do business here. Well, we have these problems with the banks, problems with the suppliers. What is happening is that the cannabis went to the drugstore, and they start selling the cannabis, and the cannabis is sold out in 3 hours. And then, by contract, the suppliers have to give cannabis 15 days later. So that's one of the things that it's not working. The thing between demand and supply is not working right now. I have the conviction that they are working on that, but it will take time. Cannabis at home. We have 8,000 gardeners registered. You can have in stock up to 480 grams. We have a kind of loopholes with seeds because the states, the laws, are not saying to us how we can buy seeds. Anyway, we have a lot of seeds from Paraguay for many time, and we grow that seed for many time, and they grow quite good. And we also have a kind of invasion of seed banks from the Netherlands and from Spain that are giving seeds as candy to the children. And then they are selling it. We have this cannabis clubs. This cannabis club, this photo that you see there, it's from a really poor neighborhood in Montevideo, the capital city of Uruguay. It's awesome. It's a social experience which is really great. Because people in these places share almost everything, and they, in this house, the people of the neighborhood, young people go there to play music, to smoke weed, to grow weed, and they all the time together. And it's a really interesting social experience in this neighborhood, because you don't have, of course you don't have shopping mall, but you don't have attractions for young people, any type of attraction. You only have some bars for elder people, for alcoholic people, but you don't have places for young people for interaction, which is so important. And you have all types of clubs, because we also, in Latin America, we live in a kind of schizophrenic or bipolar countries, where there is people which has a lot of money really, and there is a lot of people which have nothing. And so the cannabis social clubs lives in all of these worlds in my country. And as you have this cannabis club in a poor neighborhood, you also have cannabis clubs in luxury neighborhoods or in luxury season resorts. You have all types of cannabis clubs. We have 68 at this moment, and growing. For example, this picture is from, this guy is from Peru. He's called Pico, and he is the chef grower of a cannabis club, which is really expensive in Punta del Este, which is like our main place for people with money. Everybody came from Brazil, from Argentina, from other places. And he had a house where he had his greenhouse, and he had I don't know, but 3 different rooms for growing, and he had also in his backyard he takes advantage of the sunlight. So he had 4 different rooms for growing. One of the main fears about regulation, legalization, or whatever you want, is the use will rise, drug addiction will rise, children won't go to the school, everybody's going to be high, and it's not true. Well, in the US, that's one of the main things that we can learn from the US, that everything is like before, but with another point of view, the real point of view. Looks good. In my country, 63% of the cannabis use is experimental, 23 occasional, 14% of the total are people that smoke weed at least once in a month. You can see there, we have, one of the problems that we have in Uruguay is that we are not studying the thing as it deserves. So some of the figures that I can show you here are from 2014, like this one. There you can see in red, you have the smoker that smokes at least once in a month. In blue you have occasional, that he has smoked once in a year at least. And then you have experimental, which is once in a lifetime, at least once.
What does Paraguayan mean?
Paraguay is the supplier of illicit cannabis in my country, and in Argentina, and in Brazil, and in Bolivia, and in Chile. So it's like the cannabis from the black market. Fine. One of the weak things in regulation is that we have to do a register. I really don't like it. I just do it because I prefer that to have a police car in front of my house or in front of the high school or whatever. But you can see there that the majority of people don't like and won't use this system. So it's okay with registration. We, the people that fight for this and that have a cultural, a political approach to changes, we are going to register. But not everybody is going to register. That's a problem we are having. This is you can see here the rates of criminality because of drug offenses. We have this peak here that responds to new practices of the police and a new hemispherical misconception about the drugs, about the solution and the problems about drugs. And then we have, from 2011, a decline that maybe has something to do with the debate, with the discussion, or maybe not. We are going to see that next year when we are going to have a national survey on drugs. But we just have hypotheses, we don't have any thesis yet. Well, the use of cannabis rise when regulation, we really don't know. What we can see here is that the use of cannabis rise during the prohibition. Or at least, because this is a survey, and when somebody from the States knocks your door and say, I have some question for you, do you smoke weed? And weed is illegal. Maybe I said no. So, it's really relative. We have some problems with medical cannabis. We have problems with the evaluation and monitoring. And we have a lot of questions. Are we a star in the night of prohibition? No. Are we an island? Maybe. Are we a lighthouse? I don't believe it. But I would like to ask you, what do you think about all this? And maybe we have 2 minutes for 1 or 2 questions. And this is over. So thank you. One question here.